today I decided to take this opportunity to record this stream direct online just from my laboratory in evening time, 5:30, by the way, but already dark outside because this is a night schedule for old clocks, so very, very, very dark, by the way. But my video is devoted to the study of entomologists at the present time in Ukraine, by the way, because a couple of days ago I did special stream, special translation from entomological collection of our institute, and this day I decided to repeat it and to remind you that you can watch this video on my channel in the folder translations or streams. So that's why this stream is just direct online to save time, because I don't need to record it again, to download, to upload to YouTube channel, but just this is online stream. So you can write your questions if you can notice me. And first of all, I would say what I am doing at the laboratory at what time, because this is a time which is quite difficult in Ukraine. Nevertheless, I am located in Kyiv, in Bogdan Khmelnytsky Street 15, near Metro Teatran in the downtown of city of Kyiv. This is the most central part of Kyiv, and we are just a little bit far away. So far away from the front line in Ukraine, in comparison with war somewhere in Dnieper, in Kharkiv, in Nikolaev, in Kherson. But nevertheless, scientists, then devoted entomologists and devoted zoologists are still working despite any troubles. I'm talking with you in English just for a wide audience, just to show what I am doing and how I'm doing some of my study, because I'm making study with microscope. Of course, this type of microscope is not very modern one. This is not a Chinese microscope. This is not German microscope. This is quite very old style of microscope. But we have some better microscopes. But I prefer this one because it's still working properly. And what I wanted to tell you, maybe some people will be coming to our stream. Who knows? It's not obvious, but it will be uploaded and it will be a recorded mode. I'm sitting here in my laboratory, despite any troubles which are going everywhere around, despite sometimes radar sirens, despite dark time outside, despite quite difficult troubles outside of Kyiv and near Kyiv, sometimes in evening time, in night time, despite some explosions here during night time, even in morning time. So there were 2 explosions quite close to our institute in 100 meters nearby in Taras Shevchenko Park. So because 2 missiles just exploded here last year in the center of Kyiv, and some people died. And also there was some other troubles, by the way. But I'm working with my microscope. Entomologists should work with microscope, with literature, with computer, with his mobile phone to search information, to search literature through computer, to communicate with colleagues and entomologists through computer and through social media, and of course to connect with experts who can be in cooperation with you. Actually, I'm studying small parasitic wasps. These are parasitic wasps which are parasitoids on another insects. They're eating other insects. They're larvae eating other insects, so they're developing, they're growing, and their hosts, just their food material is dying. So that's why they're called parasitoids. I'm studying parasitoids among the special family Trichogramma, very special family which includes egg parasitoids of different insects. I cannot show you them directly, but I can show you them just inside my article in a journal. Just wait a little bit. But I would like to repeat it. A couple of days ago, I showed very special collection. I showed collection of Carabidae beetles, which is deposited in the Department of Entomology in our institute here in separate room. And I was very pleased to show you collection of Carabidae beetles, round beetles of genus Carabus, very big beetles, size about like that, 2.5 centimeters, 3 centimeters. They're very attractive. Carabus beetles, very attractive beetles, were distributed worldwide, and I showed them just directly on smartphone inside the box. Because they're very colorful, they have a special punctuation, they have special coloration, they're bright yellow, dark brown, green, violet, shining bodies of these beetles. So many entomologists and many amateur entomologists enjoy collecting Carabidae beetles and other colorful beetles because they're attractive for exposition, just to receive some pleasant emotions. But this was a very important scientific collection I showed 2 days ago, because this collection deposited in our department as Department of Entomology as national heritage, and it's protected because this material was collected 50 years ago, even 100 years ago in 1915 by different Ukrainian and German entomologists. Half of century ago, 1 century ago, even before. So I just read labels and I was very surprised how many old material we have in our collection. So if you are interested in Carabidae beetles, if you're interested in ground beetles, if you're interested to see big entomological material, beetles and butterflies, check my folders with translations, folders with streams, and you can see my recent video about Carabidae collection in Institute of Zoology. This was very interesting stream. I showed beetles under the screen of microscope, under the screen of my smartphone. So they were very big, just full size of screen. So quite interesting. I cannot show you with the same style my parasitoids, because they're also inside collection boxes. I show you collection box. This is a collection box with our entomological material with different parasitoids. Different parasitoids are stored here. They're labeled, they're identified, they're used for comparison with another species, they're used for microphotography, they're used for identification, they're used for publication of scientific articles, papers, and books. So work with entomological collection. This is a most important part of work for entomologists. So this is why. So you see, you can recognize here just white label, white and black label, which is written or printed. But I cannot show you, even with zoom with microscope, all these tiny specimens because they are very small, just 1 millimeter size. Well, so I need to use microscope for magnification to recognize even just the biggest magnification, about 100 times magnification at least to see it under the optical microscope, more magnification to up to 100 times magnification to watch details under another microscope. But for another microscope I need to make special microscopic slides from these tiny insects, because some of these insects 1 millimeter, but some of them, especially genus Trichogramma, size of just only half of millimeter, 0.5 millimeter. So very small one. That's why to see some morphological features, to recognize some morphological details of antennae, details of wings, details of a male genitalia, and to take a photo, you need to make a magnification under 400 or just 1000 times magnification under another microscope, not like this one, as I said. But I can show you some of Trichogramma in my article, just for introduction to meet some people. So you see, this was on a screen of cover of this video. These are eggs of hawk moths. Eggs of hawk moths, size about 2 millimeter size, and these tiny yellow pots. These are parasitoids, Trichogramma. They are ovipositing. They are parasitizing these tiny 2 millimeter size eggs of hawk moths, Sphingidae family. Trichogramma are parasitoids of different Lepidoptera, different butterflies, different moths. So some of them, like this tiny moth, like this rain moth, very small, laying small eggs. So that's why we are parasitizing just one egg by one. This is a male or female? Female of Trichogramma with high magnification. And you can see here, this is also a female of Trichogramma. These are parasitized eggs of leaf roller family. Tortoricidae, no. Tortoricidae, family Tortoricidae. So this is leaf rollers butterflies. Leaf rollers moths actually, family Tortoricidae. So parasitized eggs, they have a dark color because they contain inside larvae of Trichogramma parasitoid. And yellowish, these are still unparasitized eggs, and they are flattened. They are laid by Tortoricidae, leaf rollers, moths, just in a group, in large groups, but they are very flattened. Sometimes quite difficult to find them on the bark of trees. These are another pictures which I did myself personally. These are original photographs of Trichogramma under microscope. Different species of moths, different species of hawk moths, and sometimes they are parasitized by many females all together. So you can recognize that in some Papilionidae, like this one. This is egg of Papilionidae butterfly, and this egg hawk moths of Sphingidae. These are eggs of probably of Noctuidae. This one of Noctuidae. So in some eggs, few individuals developing. In some eggs, many up to 20 individuals developing, like an egg of Sphingidae because it's a big one. But tiny parasitoid had size only 0.5 millimeter. These are photographs of different eggs and even some pupae, which when I open the egg of bollworm, this egg of bollworms, family Noctuidae, with some exit holes and some Trichogramma just emerging. So this was a picture during the time of emergence of Trichogramma, the most important one. When you can collect them, when you can observe some behavior of mating, when you can collect fresh material and recognize that these parasitoids emerge precisely from this host. This is very important, just to have just a group all together for identification, because it's quite important to have material collected all together. If you collected insects in a group, so there is a high probability that they belong to one species. But sometimes even two species of Trichogramma can parasitize the same host. That's why it needs a very special technique for identification. Despite we have many individuals, for example, collected from eggs, like here, this is Fingidae family, or just group of eggs all together. So some Trichogramma females can come here, several species can come to the same group of eggs and can parasitize them. So that's why it's not the case that always, if you can breed, if you can rear some individuals from one egg, you can get to the same species. You can receive some individuals, few specimens, which are important for identification. But sometimes, in rare cases, but in some cases, it needs special identification, special recognition that few different species can be found in one same host. What should we do? For Trichogramma, it needs special identification under the high magnification of microscope. Not 100 times microscope, but just up to 1000 microscope. For that, I need to make microscopic slides. That's why I'm sitting with microscope and doing just very routine work. For beginning, it needs to make routine work. For example, I have such plates, disc plates. I can show you these funny small dishes. These small dishes, about 2 centimeters diameter, many of them. I need to fill them with potassium hydroxide. Yes. Why? Because I need to clean my individuals, to clean bodies of studied insects. All studied insects usually very dark, and you cannot watch them under the transparent microscope, because I'm receiving different insects for identification. I can receive insects, for example, very carefully packed. I collect myself, or for example, sometimes some of my colleagues sending me material for identification. And this is very important material. For example, they can be from Ukraine, or this material can be from other countries. This material can be sent in plastic tubes, like this. For example, this material I received in this package, like this, from abroad, from Europe, for identification. Thank you very much for my colleague who sent it. This material with alcohol and containing some insects inside. 70% alcohol or 90% alcohol, and inside some tubes. Sometimes tubes can be big one or this smaller one, but very carefully packed. Very carefully packed, because it needs to write on the cover that this letter contains plastic tubes with dead small insects fixed in alcohol. Material is intended only for scientific study and has no commercial value. This material has important scientific study. I can study it and can identify it. I can take photographs, not on this microscope, on a more powerful microscope. And I can write scientific paper about these insects which are sitting here inside these lovely tubes. These are plastic tubes. If I'm collecting my material myself and can take it carefully, I can keep it either in plastic tubes like this one, bigger one with caps. I can keep them dry. Plastic sometimes difficult because they're just making stick to the plastic because of electricity, static electricity. That's why I'm using not plastic tubes, but I use these glass tubes. You see, small dots, these are insects, dry insects with inside glass tubes, and they are dried, and this one sample collected together from host, from the same host, and also added with label. But this tube is glass tube. Easy to collect, easy to take it off. Insects are very well saved inside of the glass tube. But of course, it's slightly easier, or even you say more easier, to collect insects with a brush. When they imaged, you can take it with a brush and fix it inside alcohol. So you can receive several samples if you can collect with a brush living individuals. Because living individuals of small parasitoids were crawling very fast. Sometimes they're very fast and very small, so it's difficult to recognize them. But with a brush, you can take them and you can fix them inside the tube with alcohol. So, and this will be very valuable material. Because sometimes I receive material like that. This material from biological laboratory, which is breeding Trichogramma for commercial purpose. So I separate them in glass tubes like this. So here maybe half a gram, maybe 10,000 individuals of Trichogramma. Too many. Sometimes I am receiving material Trichogramma in these packages, these type of packages, packed inside of the paper package, and Trichogramma cannot cut it because she's very small. Trichogramma individuals very small, and they have mandibles. They cannot penetrate hard paper, strong paper. They can penetrate only very tiny paper, like filter paper maybe. So they're not escaping. So this container is also convenient with some written label of origin. But these packs I received from Ukraine. In certain cases, I'm fixing my material one by one in smaller samples. Smaller samples, I can use this type of tubes. These are not glass tubes, these are plastic tubes. Very convenient one. These are plastic tubes which is used for aquarium, for instance. It's closed with cotton from both sides, and inside this tube is containing tiny parasitoids. So it's diameter about 5 millimeters or less, but it's very carefully closed. It can be taken on pin, and of course on pin you can take on also some labels, some geographical labels and labels about environment, place of collecting, preliminary identification. And inside this plastic tube, parasitoids are very, very safely saved, stored, and even it's easy to send it by post mail because they are in plastic. Plastic tube will not be broken, and it's closed by cotton from both sides. Sometimes there are some old style tubes with cork. So this is old style, and of course with label. And these are tiny glass tubes, sorry, not plastic tubes. But I like very much to use plastic tubes, which is used usually by fish lovers for aquarium, for aeration in aquarium, for example. This plastic is hard, easy to cut it on 10 millimeter size tubes, fix it by cotton from both sides, and put it on pin and then entomological pin and add a label. So, label is essential part of collection. Put label where it was collected, very important. What I'm doing later? Okay, I received material. I received, for example, these samples. And after that, I'm making microscopic slides. As I started to tell you already, I'm making microscopic slides. How they look like? I use brushes to take some insects off. I'm taking and showing you some microscopic slides. They look like that. You see, this is a microscopic slide with tiny glass slides, and which contain up to one of several individuals, small parasitic wasps. Tiny cover slips here, but we have a size about 5 millimeters cover slips. So this is parasitoids of genus Trichogramma were mounted on these slides. And it needs some efforts, needs some skills to do it. You cannot do it very quickly. You cannot do it relatively quickly if you have some skills, if you have some experience. Because you see here, cover slips like this, yellowish one. I can show you. Under the cover slips, there are up to one or several individuals of tiny Trichogramma, which has size about half of millimeter, very tiny one, and two labels. It's written Trichogramma identification, and here and down part, this is geographical label about origin of this material. And of course, number of slide, number who mounted it, name of who mounted it, and the name of who collected it. This is for sure, as usual entomologists doing. How I'm doing these slides? This is quite a long process. Relatively long because it takes time. It takes time, efforts, and skills. I showed you that first of all we need to receive material. For example, collect it in a field, breed it, then fix it inside alcohol or inside dry tubes. And then we need to mount it on slides. For that I need to use very simple equipment. I need to use skills with your hands. We need to use forceps. We need to use brush. We need to use tiny sticks. We need to use stick with pin with hook. Again, brush. Just pen to write label. Some pipettes. We need to use cover slips. And we need to use these tiny dishes. First of all, and after that we can mount material on these tiny microscopic slides. Quite a long process. What should we do? First of all, I'm filling these tiny dishes with potassium hydroxide and put insects inside with brush. I take my insects from here and I push them inside potassium hydroxide. So, and wait In room temperature, you need to wait 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, good enough. After that, something's happening. Why we need to use potassium hydroxide? We need to make body of our insects, Trichogramma or other insects, transparent. This is essential process to make body of insects transparent, to mount it on microscopic slides, and to watch it under the transparent optical microscope, because you need to receive picture of transparent specimen. If in specimens is dark, you cannot see nothing, just only the body. If it was transparent or semi-transparent, or these specimens have been cleaned and cleaned from muscles, from fat body, so you can receive only the body of heating. You can receive only colors, heating bodies, and all morphological details of heating body are remaining visible. Okay, that's very interesting. Someone is writing us that we cannot understand. That's a very good idea, because I'm speaking this stream for English-speaking audience. And I can repeat it a little bit later in other language when I complete the process of mounting under the microscope. Because different people from different countries watching me. I'm taking this video not only for Ukrainian audience, for Russian audience, but also for English audience. An English-speaking audience is far away in India, in Thailand, in Indonesia, even in Egypt, even in Morocco, even in Brazil, in Mexico, in Canada, in America, United States. Usually I'm talking in English in midnight because of difference of time. But now this is evening time in Ukraine. I'm talking in English for recorded mode, so people can watch it later. But if you are interested, I can repeat it in Russian language 5 minutes later. Just wait. I complete it and can say a few words how I do microscopic slides, not only in English. We just stopped on the process of clearance. First of all, we need to take microscope. Yes, I'm continuing. So you see here, we have dishes with potassium hydroxide, kali OH or natrium OH, potassium natrium hydroxide. With my tiny brush, I'm taking my insects, I'm squeeze them, push them inside potassium hydroxide and keep them for 2 or 3 days. Insects becoming clear. We are clearing slowly, more or less quickly, inside potassium hydroxide. Then I use number 1 dish, and then I use dish number 2. Then I use stick with pin, with this, you see, stick with entomological pin and with hook. I'm taking my insects one by one from potassium hydroxide inside clean boiled or clean water, just for clearance. Again, we need to clean specimens from potassium hydroxide. They need to be clean, because otherwise we will make some kind of crystals. So you can take one by one. You can select all the insects which you need from potassium hydroxide inside distillated water, inside clean distillated water. Okay? And after that, I need to put them on a last slide. For that, I put my slide under the microscope, like that, watching under microscope. Use special media 4 media or Canada balsam media. Yes. And then I use carded slips, tiny carded slips. I use again stick with pin and with hook, and I transfer from plate with distillated water my insect. Okay, before I need to put just a drop of foreign media or foreign bird leather media or Canada balsam on my glass slide, making here 2 drops, and then I transfer my insects from distillated water inside drop of foreign media, put it inside, and I'm doing it under microscope with my pin with stick, and I use 2 tiny pins, micro pins, very tiny one, the smallest one, and I'm making correct positioning. I'm watching under the microscope, making correct positioning, because insects sometimes cut it on a side, just vice versa, when it just shrinked. So you need to make clean position of your parasitoid. Parasitoid should be laying in media, just on back, on the dorsal side, with ventral side upwards. So male genitalia or female genitalia and legs must be up. So, and after that, I make an orientation of insects, and then I use forceps. And I use tiny cover slips. Wait a minute. I use tiny cover slips as the big one or small one. Small one is expensive. They're produced in Japan and China with size about rounded one, size about 5-6 millimeters. This one about 1 centimeter is a big one. You need to cut it on several parts, and then I cover my insects, which are laying here under microscope inside foreign media. I cover it, and then I'm making next drop. Making next drop of foreign media, Canada balsam media, here on my micro slide, and transferring with pin next insect from distillated water inside media, and cover it again with cover slip. Long process, very delicate process, very careful process. You need to use also pipette to take a little bit of water off. You need to use brush to be careful. You need to use forceps to work carefully. And after that, we can receive microscopic slides. Like here. These are tiny microscopic slides. Each with insects inside, from 1 insect inside or 5 insects inside, under each cover slip. And after that I can use it to watch under the microscope, under the magnification 200, 400 and 1000 times 100. 1000 times magnification under microscope Olympus or Leica, because this old one. This is only for preparation material. And then these slides must be labeled. This is a very important part. Must be labeled and drying before watching under the microscope, or just freshly watch under microscope. So this is a process of preparation Trichogramma or another parasitoids on slides. Okay, and some people who is most devoted and who is most interested and can understand Russian and Ukrainian language, I can repeat some questions and answer the questions in Russian and Ukrainian. Сегодня мы говорили о том, как делать препараты по насекомых, из насекомых, из паразитических перепончатокрылых насекомых. Повторю для тех, кто в танке и тот, кто не понимает английского языка как международного языка общения. Ну, далеко не все, даже студенты, оканчивающие университет, а тем более, которые учатся в университете, понимают английский на слух. Поэтому мое видео предназначено для английской аудитории, понимающей на английский язык. Это аудитория из Таиланда, Вьетнама, Камбоджи, Индонезии, Австралии, Индии. 1 миллиард человек насекомых, понимающих английский язык. Конечно же, понимают и в Бразилии, и в Мексике, в Канаде, Америке, и в Европе. Все говорят на английском языке. А сегодня я делал препараты. Не делал, а показывал постепенно последовательность приготовления препаратов для микроскопа, как сделать препараты. А что такое препараты? Препараты – это насекомые, смонтированные на так называемых микроскопических слайдах. В таких слайдах, на которые монтируются насекомые, или индивидуально, или по несколько экземпляров, под покровными стеклами. Вот здесь покровные стеклышки такие в маленьком контейнере находятся. Стеклышки надо разрезать аккуратненько на несколько частей, с тем, чтобы маленькое насекомое находилось под маленьким. I hope you have understand my English, because English-speaking people are very different, speaking with different accent. I'm not pretending to speak with American accent or English accent, because I thinking about the content, I'm thinking what I'm talking, not thinking about accent. Maybe next time I will be talking with American accent just for fun. Неважно, на каком языке вы говорите и с каким акцентом, особенно с акцентом, как вы говорите на английском языке, вас поймут. Вот кто-то зашел к нам из Кореи. Скорее, hello, best greetings to Korea. Best greetings to people who is joining us from Korea, because my half an hour I was talking about preparation of slides. What city in Korea are you from? Hello, maybe you are entomologist, biologist, or just surprised by my talk about entomology. Ordinary language, you mean just simple language, or just one language of your mother language? It depends. Your mother language, but you need to speak in English like a native language. So if someone is asking, what is your native language? You can say English, because this is more honorable, by the way. If you say not English, you are just you can be rich with money, but very poor with brain. Anyway, сегодня я показал вам, как приготовляются микроскопические препараты. Сначала они вымачиваются в щелочи, в чашечках. Потом они очищаются в дистиллированной воде. Потом они вынимаются из дистиллированной воды, из маленьких таких тарелочек с дистиллированной воды и помещаются на микроскопические препараты. В капельку, каплю среды, которая фиксируется. Это может быть среда форы, среда берлизе, может быть глицерин, даже самый простой временный препарат, или препарат, изготавливаемый в канадском бальзаме. Но для этого нужно экземпляры пропустить через спирты. Или такой материал, как эупарал. Приготовление через спирты проводится довольно-таки долго. Для канадского бальзама также через толуол, тоже довольно долго. И в приготовлении спиртового материала материал часто высыхает. И высыхает, что означает, он становится очень хрупким. И насекомое становится очень хрупким, легко ломается даже когда его накрывается покровным стеклышком. И поэтому его так двигать в среде довольно сложно. Поэтому его часто нужно разделить на детали и смотреть под микроскопом детали строения отдельно этого насекомого. И это не просто, потому что не у каждого это получается. Я сегодня рассказал, что я делаю препараты из трихограммы. Это вот такой маленький крошечный насекомый, который я сейчас покажу. Который имеет размер всего лишь 0,5 мм. Тобто полмиллиметра, 0,5 мм. Вот это яйца, заражаемые самками трихограммы. Трихограмма – объект биометода, применяемый для борьбы с различными сельскохозяйственными вредителями. Прежде всего в Украине применяется для борьбы с кукурузным мотыльком. И вот эти экземпляры требуют определения точного видового названия, потому что различные виды бабочек, яйца этих бабочек в природных условиях заражаются различными видами трихограммы. Поэтому берется проба трихограммы, которая присылается мне, где я ее собираю в природе, и присылается из биолаборатории, где разводят трихограмму на яйцах зерновой моли. Из вот этих маленьких проб засушенной трихограммы таким образом, или присылают из-за рубежа, например, вот таким образом, в таких специальных пластиковых стаканчиках, контейнерах, в спирте 70-96%. Это касается, если кому-то интересно, будет определить материал по трихограмме, который вы разводите в биолаборатории, например, в Узбекистане, или в Туркменистане, где были лаборатории раньше. В Узбекистане особенно были лаборатории, в Туркменистане были лаборатории. Некоторыми я пытался связываться, списываться по электронной почте, но народ очень медленно отвечает, вдруг кто-то увидит. В Казахстане были биолаборатории по разведению трихограммы. Материал для исследований я получал из Казахстана. Кстати говоря, у нас, надеюсь, выйдет какая-то совместная работа по видам рода трихограммы из Казахстана. Я так ожидаю обработки материала, подачи в печать. Присылается такой вот материал в таких пробирочках пластиковых в спирте или в сухом материале, в пластиковых пробирочках. Или, может быть, материал можно прислать даже в стеклянных пробирочках, упакованные, закрытых ватными пробками. И самый аккуратный материал присылается вот в таких пробирочках, точнее говоря, кусочках пластиковой трубки, которая применяется в аквариумистике, разрезается на части по сантиметру, закрывается ваткой с двух сторон, и внутрь помещается насекомое. Такой материал снабжается этикеткой, очень легко пересылается, и насекомые внутри такого контейнера, внутри такой трубочки пластиковой, применяемой для аэрации воздуха, с этикеточкой очень аккуратно пересылается. Видно, что это просто материал для научных исследований. И в таком вот пакете, пожалуйста, в плоском пакете, можно присылать материал на определение, если вы из Таджикистана, Узбекистана, Туркменистана, Армении, Грузии, Азербайджана. У вас есть материал, который интересно было бы определить. Ну или Эстонии, Литвы, Латвии, Молдовы. У нас есть определенные, иногда бывают конференции, где приглашаются коллеги из Молдовы, из других стран, которые участвуют в конференциях по защите растений при помощи биометода, биологического метода защиты растений, в том числе, где применяются не только различные бактериальные вирусные препараты против насекомых, но и применяется трихограмма как агент биометода, разводимый в биолабораториях или изымаемый из природы и изучаемый в лаборатории, разводимый снова в лаборатории для определения вида, какой правильный вид нужно разводить, какой правильный вид надо выпускать. Вот определением видового состава при помощи такого вот фиксированного материала, из которого я использую, монтирую на стеклянные слайды. Это пустые слайды, я показывал. Еще раз покажу. Материал я фиксирую на вот таких слайдах. В среде находится материал, мелкие насекомые, полмиллиметра размером, которые мы смотрим потом под микроскопом Олимпус при увеличении 400-кратном или 1000-кратном для фотографирования деталей морфологии, деталей антенн, крыльев, яйцеклада и генитального аппарата самцов, что используется для определения того или иного вида и для различия и выявления, какой же вид разводится в биолаборатории или какой вид трихограммы. Вы собрали или кто-то собрал в природе, зафиксировал его, например, в спирте, но в такой пробе, даже если его смотреть целиком микроскопом, не видно нужное увеличение этого экземпляра, который всего лишь полмиллиметра размером, 1000-кратное, чтобы провести определение правильного видового состава. 1000-кратное, 400-кратное даже еще маловато, только 1000-кратное увеличение дает возможность фотографии, большой макрофотографии деталей морфологии гениталий самцов и четкого видового определения. Так что если у вас будут материалы из вашей страны, Таджикистана, Узбекистана, Казахстана, Туркменистана, Грузии, Армении, Азербайджана, Эстонии, Латвии, Литвы, Молдовы, мой адрес электронный в описании. Можем сколлаборироваться, можем скооперироваться и определить вид той трихограммы, которая есть у вас в лаборатории или есть, которая у вас там на верблюжьей колючке разводится, которая живет на верблюжьей колючке, и вы ее собрали, зафиксировали в пробирочке сухую или в спирте, маленькой пробирочкой Аппендорфа, и дальше не знаете, как ее определить, то мы вам поможем, я вам помогу определить вид, и можем написать статью в международном журнале с высоким хирш-фактором для повышения вашего статуса, для повышения вашего статуса в вашей лаборатории. Будете иметь статью на английском языке в международном журнале. Так что можете попробовать собрать трихограмму, или, может быть, если она у вас есть, зафиксируйте ее вот так в пробирочках, в спирте или в сухими пробами в виде таких маленьких контейнеров и присылайте по адресу, который я вам пришлю, или на адрес моего института, который тоже есть в описании этого видео. А также я хотел сказать, заканчивая это видео, что я начинал видео с того, что я говорил, что 2 дня назад я снимал видео о жуках, более крупных насекомых, под названием «Коллекции жуков из тропиков, из пустынь». Уникальные жуки-жужелицы рода Карабус, семейства Карабиды, в коллекции отдела энтомологии и фундаментальных коллекций Института зоологии Национальной академии наук Украины в Киеве. Вы можете посмотреть в фолдере под названием «Трансляции». Там помещена эта трансляция из коробки, из 3 коробок. С 3 коробок с жуками рода Карабус. Они очень большие, красивые, интересные. потому что они имеют размер 2-3 сантиметра. У них красивые пунктировка на элитрах. Пунктировка не просто ямки, а еще выпуклые горбики такие на... Вот я их еще смотрю даже на компьютере, повторяю этот ролик. Порядка 30 видов мы осмотрели в этих 3 коробках. 3 коробки — это всего лишь малая толика той коллекции карабиды, которая была собрана различными энтомологами в течение многих лет. Мы посмотрели коллекцию, которая старые материалы содержала, более 100-летней давности, собранные еще энтомологами украинскими и немецкими в 1915 году, например, и другие годы. Даже я нашел свой экземпляр, собранный в 1984 году, 1985 году, поставленный в коллекцию под соответствующим видом. Свою этикетку нашел. Сейчас, минуту. Так что и эти виды вы можете посмотреть в отдельном видео, в отдельной трансляции, которая у меня есть на канале, в фолдере трансляции, потому что они так немножко сдвигаются и сразу незаметно. Там я о них рассказываю, но на английском языке, потому что в основном там я говорю о латыни, о латинских названиях видов, которые поставлены в эту коллекцию. Так что спасибо за внимание, спасибо, что были с нами. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for interest and curiosity. Some people came here from different countries, I hope so. Some other people who is speaking, reading, writing and listening and understanding English will be watching my video from the beginning, because beginning was in English. And just this latest short part was not in English. Thank you for coming. Thank you for interest and curiosity. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't subscribe yet. If you have not subscribed yet, welcome to subscribe. Welcome to make donations and welcome to my Patreon page. Or welcome to my page of Monobank for people who is in Ukraine or other country. So you can make small decent transferation on Monobank, just direct, or to Patreon to support my channel, because this lovely feedback is also quite useful and supportive, not only for inspiration, but also for life during this wartime in Ukraine. Nevertheless, despite cold time, despite dark time, despite troubling time, in all circumstances, which is going to be still at the present time in Ukraine, we are working with microscope, hard working with microscope, taking photographs under Olympus microscope, making microscopic slides, making sorting material, making mounting material, making identification material. Thank you for being with us. Today we have been talking about parasitoids. We have been talking about microscopic slides. Сегодня мы говорили о микроскопических препаратах, как делать микроскопические препараты для микроскопа, для изучения их под большим увеличением микроскопа, как сохранить материал насекомых в пробирочках, как их прислать в пробирочках, зафиксировать в спирте и прислать. Не забудь этикетку. Не забудь этикетку обязательно. В каждой из этих пробирок содержится этикетка, подписанная карандашом. И экземпляры разные от 1 до полмиллиметра размером и 1 миллиметр размером. Очень маленький. Этот материал вот прислан был из Европы. Совсем недавно, на прошлой неделе. Вот в таком вот конверте. На мой рабочий адрес. Материал для научных исследований. паразитоидов, семейства трихограмматиды и других хальцидоидных наездников, надсемейства хальцидоидея. Обычно я их показываю у себя на постере за мной. Но сегодня я в лаборатории делаю прямой стрим, прямую трансляцию в работе с микроскопом. In English, for English-speaking audience, because when I'm talking in English, midnight, more people come in English-speaking because of difference of time. But nevertheless, it will be in recorded mode. If you want to know more about insects, if you want to know about parasitoids, join my channel, support my channel, make donations, and ask your questions, by the way. Ask your questions. This will be feedback from you to me, because otherwise I don't know what is interesting for audience, what was not interesting, what could be interesting for audience in the future. Not only how to fight against insects, how to crush insects, how to make disinsection of insects, but how to study insects, how to study parasitoids, so I can explain it, I can make story about it, I can show you maybe some methodology, maybe some techniques. Thank you for coming. Press like, write your comments, ask your question. If somebody will be writing stupid messages, I will delete these messages very easily, because I can see message and I delete it. Thank you for coming. Stand with us. Don't forget, stand with Ukraine, support Ukraine, help to Ukraine. And Ukraine will win. Thank you for interest and curiosity. Ukraine forever. Bye-bye. See you soon on my channel.